right.
Hello to those of you who are joining us. I see many folks coming into our webinar. Great to have you all here with us today.
Hello and welcome.
Wow, we already have 29, 30 plus.
Nice.
Streaming in, Chef.
Glad to see everyone.
Yeah, love it.
Let's see.
Some familiar
Give a shout out,
names.
say hi to Chris and Christy, sister, hey.
Hey.
Got some Michigan fam here.
Love it.
Got Jeff out in Detroit. Joe in New York. What's up, Joe? Or in
Nice.
Delaware, actually. That's right where you are. Let's see, who else is out there? All the Lindsays. There's a few. Looks like we got people in Vegas. Hey,
Nice.
hey, Mike.
Hi, Camille.
Right.
We have
Monica.
Anna.
Hey, Monica. It's been a minute.
Oh, I love it. So fun. I mean, what a great day for this.
I agree.
And they stopped building across the street just now. So they were hammering until about 20 minutes ago.
Good timing. I see in chat we have hi from Tucson. So Kat is joining us from Tucson. Hello. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. And we have Julie is just south of us. She's in Branch County. Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for joining. So if you're coming on our webinar, feel free to give us a shout out. We're so happy you're here joining us today to learn from Master Chef Josh and learn about his cool business, what strengths we have here in our community. So Diana is joining us from Kalamazoo. Hello, Diana.
Hi, Dana.
I want to say hi to Hazel out there. Hi, Hazel.
It's awesome. I love it.
Makes me happy we can still connect, even if it's virtual.
Heck yeah.
Um,
I love that it's sunny, but I'll tell you what, this light is something, guys.
It's stylish. Sure.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's like a halo.
We'll call it an artistic choice. So we have Kim from St. Joe, and she says she's so grateful for you, Chef. So I agree.
You
And
don't
then
need more sausages, do you, Kim?
we'll take orders live. And we have Joan and Steve from Kalamazoo. Kim says she always needs more product. Love the ribs. Agree. Totally. I love that. Like such a creative riff on ribs. It's amazing. So fun.
All right. What do you think, Lizzie?
Yeah, I say let's go for it. Also shout out from Betsy and Ed from St. Joe. So loyal following we have here with you. And we have folks coming from Texas Township. So love it. All right, Christina, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, and
Get
keep
started.
the comments coming as we're doing the introductions, because that's we'll come back to that. But officially, hello and welcome everyone to the annual Kalamazoo Foodways Symposium. We're glad to be back this year. Before we get started, I'd like to just briefly introduce myself, and Lizzie will be your facilitators for today. So my name is Christina, and I work at Kalamazoo Valley Community College as Food Systems Program Coordinator. And Lizzie, would you like to briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Lizzie and I am Program Coordinator of Community, Culinary, and Nutrition. So happy to be here with you today. Thanks, Christina. Thank you, Chef. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you, Lizzie. So this year's theme is Plant Forward, and it focuses on celebrating plants in our lives and in our diets. So we hope that you enjoyed the sessions that we have offered this year, and we're offering today and throughout the week as well. The Kalamazoo Foodways Symposium inspires and empowers greater Kalamazoo communities to honor our agricultural history and heritage cuisines, celebrate good food, and work together to build a just and healthy future for all. This event, the Kalamazoo Foodways Symposium, is a collaboration between Kalamazoo Valley Museum and the Brunson Healthy Living Campus that are both part of Kalamazoo Valley Community College. The program and activities provide historical, cultural, and practical insights into food and food systems in Southwest Michigan. It serves as a convening point for students, practitioners, and the community to come together to build a strong, vibrant, and local food system. With that being said, I'm very excited to introduce our chef for today's session, Chef Josh. Chef Josh has been vegan and mastering plant-based cuisine for the past 20 years, crafting unique, flavorful recipes. He enjoys incorporating seasonal and forage ingredients through his plant-forward cuisine. Chef Josh also crafts vegan meats and cheeses inspired by his family and their tradition of Italian-American cuisine. Currently, Josh and his wife Carrie live on a small wild permaculture farm in southwest Michigan, where they're up a storm as a chef and owner of Water and Wheat in Coloma, Michigan. Water and Wheat is known for innovating house-made vegan meats made from whole vegetables, grains, mushrooms, and beans that are mostly grown in Michigan. So with that being said, welcome, Chef Josh.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and then thanks for everyone for coming out at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. Really appreciate it. It's awesome to have everyone out here. I hope we all get something from this. I know I will. Every time I get to talk about the future of food and how I see it, I see it better. So I appreciate any questions or any interjections people have, because that might help us all find a better direction. Really, I can get right into it. I'll let you know just a brief little bit about myself. I helped run restaurants in Chicago before I moved out to Michigan. Was the head chef at Karen's on Green. I was the head chef at Upton's Break Room, and also helped open Ground Control. I was a cook at Chicago Diner, organized the only strike there ever, and worked as a cook since the late 90s, on and off. I started cooking when I was in college. I studied art. I ended up not producing any artwork after the 90s, but I kept cooking, and I'm still cooking into the 20s. So, I've been doing it for over 20 years, and now we have taken what I've learned at the different restaurants, the different seitan factories that I've worked at, and developed a new way of looking at vegan meats. And that's what I brought here to this presentation, really, was the whole idea that I have of taking what we grow in our region and making the foods we love to eat. We start off with my first sausage I ever created was an Italian sausage. We developed in Chicago, I don't know if it was 7 years ago, maybe more. And it was pretty simple, made out of beans and wheat and tapioca and fennel and red pepper. And we really were flavor forward, and just satisfied meat eaters' appetites is what we were shooting for, and what I shoot for with all of our meats. You see a picture here of our brat that was just in the paper recently. And this is our awesome crew that we have. My wife, my partner. Here's two of our awesome employees. We have Veronica Smith is actually our artist. She's on your left, and developed and designed all of our characters that help us tell the story about what our meats do. We have characters disguised as food. They're vegetables that want to be your meat. It's a narrative that kind of dreamt up how to communicate that vegetables can easily be our meat, and actually they want to be our meat. It's a bit of a play on the happy cow motif that they use so fraudulently in media and marketing, to where they say that, happy milk comes from happy cows. It's actually a lie, and there's no happy cows involved in that. But the vegetables, they could be happy. We could personify them. So you'll see them in a second come through on our screen, if we're still showing it. Really one of the things that, there you go. Here's a good example. This is Pete. He's a beet, and he wants to be your meat. He's ground up with eggplant and bound with wheat and some other ingredients. It's actually 65% vegetables. And really one of the reasons we use the beets, not only for color and flavor and texture, but also it's available. It's grown by an organic farm not very far from us at all in Bangor. Birdsong Farms grows it, and they send it to KVCC Valley Hub, which has been a real awesome partner. And they actually take it, grind the beets or shred them, and then freeze them. And then we order them as we need, already partially processed, which has really allowed us to grow our business without increasing our staff or really much of our facility at all. They've taken some of the pressure off us by not only processing some of our vegetables, but also by distributing whole mushrooms from sprouted farms and whole vegetables as well, not just processed vegetables. But we're really lucky to have them as a partner and to have KVCC there with all the different facets that they provide for the community and really help our business and me. This is Louise, one of our other characters, who is our version of a cheese. And then this is also Louise as bacon. This was the first character that I dreamt of. And Veronica, who's our artist and cook, was just a customer at the time. And I knew she was a comic book artist, and I told her about this dream I had. And a couple days later, she had the perfect drawing. Here's a little example of some of the ingredients in our Italian sausage. And that's actually a picture of our Italian sausage that's frozen. Didn't thaw it out before we shot it or cook it. But all of our meats are pre-cooked, pre-formed, and frozen. And you take them home or bring them to your restaurant, and you thaw it overnight or a couple hours in the fridge, and then it cooks up within about 3 to 5 minutes. You could cook them on the griddle, on a frying pan. They grill up great over an open flame. You also can bake or grind the meat. Most of our meats can easily be broken down and crushed into a ground meat. Here's a great example of them being grilled. Our ribs, you can see back there, they love a little bit of burn. We use a sugarcane bone, and if you could get that bone to caramelize and to get a char on there, it is the tastiest thing I can give you. That caramelization, it's meat candy, really. This is a picture of our ribs frozen for photograph purposes. And those are chestnut mushrooms from Sprouted Mushroom Farm. And we specifically use those because of their flavor and their texture. We break them down in a specific way that allows the cap to be chopped and the stem to be crushed. So we allow the fiber and the actual structure of the mushroom to be present in our ribs to allow for a textural element. Same thing with our burger. You could see the eggplant pieces in the burger suspended. Now, some of them get absorbed into the wheat and the soy, and some of them get left whole, so you can taste that beet. This is just an example of the Cali burger we used to make in our cafe and sell that people really miss. I apologize for those of you out here that are sad you can't get this from us again. One day in the summer, we'll make some. But our burgers are available at many restaurants in the area. Here's an example of our steak. It's a 10-ounce beet and eggplant steak, and it's wrapped in our butternut squash bacon. The bacon, we're going to show you a version to make at home where you bake it in your oven and you don't smoke it or fry it, which we do here. We do a little more, process to get a flavor, where the recipe we're going to give you is just a much easier and quicker process. Here's our chicken. We just developed a chicken sausage, which is a steamed version of our actual regular chicken pieces, which are braised. And we made it for a restaurant in Stevensville called Dog Slinger that'll be selling it. And Oakwood Bistro here has our fried chicken and actually a lot of our other meats. They have our half rack of ribs, they have sausages, they have a burger, and they do a bang up job. And they were the first one in Kalamazoo to bring us, and actually the first restaurant to bring us on their menu. We really appreciate Ryan Soul there. This is our chicken done as a Milanesa. We create products for restaurants specifically, and for using our chicken, we were able to craft many different forms and versions. So the Milanesa was for a Mexican restaurant that had a limited opportunity with us. This is a piece of our fried chicken that you'd find in a bucket that we do sometimes for pop-ups. And this is another drawing from Veronica Smith. In our restaurant, we used to make jackfruit and cauliflower chicken. So that's kind of the personification of those foods. A little silly. And thank you. And I just want to touch on a few things that before we get into the recipes, and that is, I believe we are at a precipice of needing to make some very serious decisions in our lives and in our industries. And with our Foodways, I believe that's the most dramatic change we can affect as an individual, as companies, and in the industry, where we can bring plant-based foods forward as the solution to our not only our environmental destruction, but also our economic and social situations where we have poor health quality in the world, and as well as all the environmental impacts. So, vegans have been working for decades out of ethics, because determined that it is not our place to subjugate animals and to destroy them to live and to have a healthy and vibrant life. So we've been paving the way, and businesses have been paving the way for decades. And now we're at a point where everyone understands that we have to make changes in order to save our future, regardless of what their ethics are. So I'm really proud to be here at this moment, doing this, crafting these foods for our future. And if it wasn't for farms like Sprouted and distributors like Valley Hub, which you just saw a second ago with their processed vegetables and the whole vegetables and mushrooms they deliver to us, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to create what we do. Crisp Country Acres is a great example. They're prolific with what they grow. And because they grow so many vegetables and fruits, that's not only that are good quality, but they store. Those are vegetables and fruits that we can use all year. They enable me and our products to be able to produce all year. Birdsong as well, because they're growing really quality root vegetables that are able to store and grow in this climate and hold all year to use. We're able to create the products for these restaurants that are able to solve their problem, satisfying the customer's demand. So we're solving multiple problems at the same time, but the whole time we have this ethos that the biggest problem we have to solve is just to lessen the violence and destruction that we subjugate the whole world to through our hands of humans. So we're trying to lessen that impact and lessen that destruction. And we have some really great local partners in Kalamazoo, 600 Kitchen and Bar, Oakwood Bistro, and Studio Grill are the 3 locations that serve our products that you can go and get our meats at. Studio Grill is open for breakfast and lunch. Oakwood Bistro and 600 Kitchen and Bar, I believe, are open for lunch and dinner. And I believe 600 delivers too. So, they're all great chefs. They're chef-forward restaurants. And I've actually picked those restaurants because they do our products well. All right, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk. If you could pause just for a quick second, Lizzie, thank you so much. We are going to get into a whole bunch of different things pretty quickly. We're going to start off with talking about eggs and egg replacers. Then we're going to get into dairy and talk about a really quick, easy dairy solution that a lot of us might not think to do because the recipes just don't push us in that direction. So we're going to try to unlock that future potential for you. And then we're going to get into a couple of vegetables. Butternut squash is my favorite. It stores really well and it's so versatile. We can turn it into so many products. We're also going to do a couple cauliflower dishes that are, some things that you see at the store, other things that you've never seen before. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off, if you can get back to that first, that slide and get going. Egg replacers, there are so many. There are simple ones that are one ingredient, like chickpea flour or flax seeds, which are usually ground. And there's more complicated ones that like energy egg replacer, which is my favorite, just egg, which is new and hit the market, or zero egg, which is a product that you can get from Gordon's Food Service, which is a powdered version of just egg that you add liquid to. Now, if you were to buy Bob's Red Mill egg replacer, in that bag, it's actually just these 4 ingredients: baking soda, potato starch, psyllium husk, and tapioca starch. So you don't need to spend the $5 on that small amount. You could actually spend $5 and buy 10 times as much and make it yourself. Now we're going to get into the one egg replacer that I've developed that I have not seen anyone else do ever, and is my gift to you to make a new egg replacer for a clean, flavorless, odorless, and colorless egg replacer that it just hydrates and binds. What we do is we take flax seeds. The golden have a lighter color, but I'll use the dark brown flax. And you boil them, I says 5 to 10 minutes. But the way you want to test it is on a low boil. I have that set to about medium. You'll see that we start whisking it. And as the whisk going on, I'll be pulling the whisk up and looking at the threads. So as this thickens and as it cooks, it pulls the gelatinous substance, I'm not a scientist, out of the seed, and it incorporates it into the water. So everything becomes gelatinous and suspended in this gel. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking at the thread. I'm wanting to see kind of how do I describe this eloquently? A viscous, gelatinous, slimy substance that will suspend across the wire whisk. You can imagine what it feels or looks like. And once you see that, then you know it's thick enough, because it's really hard to tell when it's hot because it doesn't show you how thick it is. But within a few minutes, we drain it and we save the seeds, and they are really awesome in cookies, granola, pancakes. You could use them as a binder still, because there's still a lot of that gelatinous goop around the seeds. But then really what we're making is this flax goop, I call it. And what it is, it's the strained, cooked water after cooking flax in it. That's all it is. I'm sure it has some healthful qualities. I don't know exactly what's in it because there's nothing to compare it to. But here is the example of how goopy and stretchy and gelatinous it is. It's awesome. You use it 1-to-1 for eggs in baking applications. I've made many of Italian cookies with them, or just regular chocolate chip cookies, different kinds of baking techniques.
Chef, really quick, there's a question.
Great.
Do you grind the flax seeds before boiling, and how much water, how much seed?
No, so that recipe is out there. We do have 3 cups of water with a 1/4 cup of flax seeds, and you want to keep them whole, so when you strain it, you have a real clean product left. You could, the grinding flax is some recipes you see of ground flax, which is great, but make sure if you're doing that, you're grinding your flax fresh. If you buy ground flax, it won't act the same way.
And also the recipes are referenced in the chat box. There is a link to the PDF, so you can kind of follow along with those recipes as well as Chef is talking through them in the video. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to get into eggs now. Now, tofu egg is its own thing. Now, we're not going to replace eggs in a baking recipe with tofu egg. Maybe you can, like with the blended silken tofu and like a quick bread, but really this is about eating egg as a scramble or as a fried egg. You can keep playing it, please. So what we're doing first is we're going to show you the tofu egg. That's basically our version of a fried egg. This is what we serve on an Eggs Benedict or on a sandwich, or just as a side of a tofu egg with a breakfast plate. It's pretty simple, and you could prep it in advance in your home or in your restaurant. We have some ingredients I say are the recipe, and some are optional. The black salt, the onion powder, and the garlic powder I say are optional because it's basically taking what would be a normal plain egg and making it a tasty, savory scramble or omelet, or just a deeper flavor. The black salt gives it a sulfur scent and flavor, which is only usually in eggs when you overcook them. So it'll give off that overdoneness. But sometimes when we're making mock foods, our best result will be a poor version of the meat of the original analog, that we were trying to mock. So if I could come across and make someone think that this is overcooked eggs, I'm winning. But we're going to show you a few different versions. We're going to show you an overcooked scramble, a soft scramble, and then this is the fried egg. It's all happens pretty quickly with the same ingredients. The fried egg here, we're dredging on both sides of that with that same mixture. And I'll make a big batch of this seasoning and just keep it around. And one note is when you're doing this, you could reserve the seasoning mix, but after you've put the tofu through there, which has moisture and soybean and protein, you have to then refrigerate that. You can't keep it out on your shelf with the rest of the spices. And you want to use it within a week, pretty much. We're going to use it within a second. So we take that same mix and we put it then into our tofu scramble. There he goes. And it's about a quarter cup, which is what the recipe calls for. But at the same time, you could use your own judgment with say seasoning. You might think this needs more salt, or it has too much, or it just has too much nutritional yeast. I love nutritional yeast. So what I just added was chickpea flour. And the reason why we're adding chickpea flour to our scramble is to help it bind and crispen. It'll create, it'll allow some crunch, some more texture, and then also to hopefully bring it together in almost an omelet form. Now, if I wanted to make this a real omelet to where it was super solid as one piece, I would blend about a third of this tofu up in a blender so it was creamy and smooth. And I would add twice as much chickpea flour and maybe a touch of a little water to moisten with that chickpea flour. And you would have like an omelet, almost like a crepe. Now that's a little more involved than I wanted to show you today. I wanted to keep it simple, but it's what you can do. This is the base, and you could do stuff. You do all sorts of stuff to it. This could be your base for a frittata, for a quiche, for omelets. We can go on. So a hot pan, a little oil. If you're not using oil, if you're doing an oil-free diet, you can bake it, no problem. You could also cook it in a nonstick pan, but I'm not a fan of those. So this first time we're cooking, I'm showing you, we kind of crowded the pan a little bit, and we have maybe not the hottest pan in retrospect. I'm using an induction burner. And this turned out to be a really amazing, soft scrambled egg. I ate a third of this just with a spoon. It was that good. And I brought it home, and my wife ate another third of it. It was delicious. And it really is just a soft scrambled egg, like you would get anywhere as a kid or as someone that just wants some soft scrambled egg. Now here, this was a hotter pan with not crowded. So it's just a little less on the pan. And you can see how we were able to get more of a crisp edge, like an overcooked egg. And now this is where that sulfur and that black salt really helps to sell the idea that this is just an overcooked scrambled egg. And I kind of messed with it a bit much, trying to bring it together, but just for presentation, the less surface area, the less crispness you get, the less crunch, which you don't want too much on your overcooked eggs, but just a little bit so that it adds a little more flavor with caramelization or the Maillard reaction.
Chef, how much chickpea flour did you add to the scramble?
Thank you for asking. I added, see, do I have it written here? I added 2 tablespoons.
Okay, well, thank you.
And also, Chef, in the Q&A, we have a question. Why are you not a fan of nonstick pans?
Because it ends up inside of you.
Yep.
They find that that Teflon is in everyone now, even people that haven't used Teflon pans. So I don't want to encourage any more of it. The same reason why I don't cook with aluminum. I don't want that in me either, because I've read some studies and they don't use them in European restaurants either, for the same reason.
Thank you, Chef.
But if you're looking to avoid oil and you like nonstick, try cast iron, or try using a griddle, like a hot plate, like a hot griddle iron on top of your stove. You don't need to use oil as long as it's seasoned once or a couple times. And you could use pretty much oil-free preparations, but still get a nice, good sear and crunch. So this was our tofu egg. We're finishing up here. Is anyone have, the other thing is to turn this into an omelet and adding something and folding it in really is about presentation and how you handle the tofu. So I kind of babied it to create the shape. So basically, if you want to baby it and create a shape and put it together, you could bind it and then put it in the oven and finish it with the bake. So if you put some cheese and some vegetables in the middle and you folded it over and you kind of pressed it. All right, milk. I am showing you this milk because it is the only milk I cook with in our restaurant. It is soy milk. It's made with soybeans and water. You can get it at a few restaurants, a few stores. One of the places is Saywalls, another place is Walmart. But you don't need to buy soy milk. You don't need to buy or make cashew milk from cashews from Brazil that have been steamed and shipped. You can make milk, and you can make them out of seeds that we grow in this country and that don't have to travel far. So what we've designed here is a seed blend of hemp, sunflower, and pumpkin. And we use, let's see the ratios I have here. So in this recipe, we have 2 tablespoons of hemp seeds, a 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds, and a 1/2 cup of sunflower seeds. And the reason for that mix is because too much hemp seed and it tastes like grass, like not cannabis, but like mowed lawn. And the pumpkin seeds can be a bit astringent if you have too much of that. And the sunflower seeds, I feel like it's also kind of grassy, but like woody in a way. But blending them all together really kind of mellows out their flavor, allows a real luscious, thick cream. And you can choose how much water you put in now. You can make this a really thick cream, and you could soak all your seeds and not have to just strain anything. But that takes some time and some forethought and some planning. And I want you to see how you can make this in just a few minutes with no planning at all. Like you ran out of milk, but you know what? You got some seeds and a blender and some water, and you can make your milk happen very quickly. You could experiment. You could try sesame seeds. A friend of mine used poppy seeds even in a high-speed blender. It can work. Now, I do think mixing the seeds is really helpful for creating a real developed flavor, because if you try drinking one pure seed milk, it might be a bit much for you. What we're doing here is we're passing it through a sieve lined with cheesecloth. My last piece of cheesecloth I had on hand, so I might have doubled it up if I had a little more. You'll see how I kind of struggled a little bit milking this. They do make nut milk bags, which is basically like a nylon reusable vegetable bag for produce, but it's made for putting pulp and liquid of nuts and seeds in. But the cotton cheesecloth works just fine. It's one-time use. And again, there is going to be left, just like we did with the flaxseed, there's going to be a residual product after we're done straining this out that we could use in a granola, in a cookie, in a pancake, in a breading. You could use it in a lot of different things. It's basically going to be a defatted nut or seed meal is what you're going to be left with, and not very much of it either. If I would have soaked this, I would have needed to strain it. And I'm kind of wishing now, because it would have been a little cleaner presentation. But honestly, I didn't even need to use the cheesecloth. I could have just poured it straight in the sieve, in the chinois, the strainer. As long as it's a fine mesh strainer, it'll get most of the grit out of there. And then when you pour it into your finished vessel, where it's going to sit, it'll then separate. So you'll have a foam at the top, which we'll see in a second, and then the milk, and then the very bottom, there'll be just a little bit of sediment. So you could do that and then just pour off the top and leave the sediment in the bottom, which is just a little sandy or mealy of the seed hulls and residue. But this milk, when we were finished, it was elegant and deluxe. I drank it. I drank it in a cold with instant coffee. I made a nice beverage, as you'll see in just a second. I don't know if we could fast forward this maybe just a smidge.
Sure. I was also going to say,
time.
I love just the raw nature of this. I know you're saying, I could have soaked it, but just the, from jump, like from grabbing things out of your pantry to getting it done, it's amazing. And it's, you make it accessible. It's not too complicated. It doesn't require a lot of pre-planning.
I do make it complicated in 1 second. So,
all right, let's fast forward to more complicated.
Now this milk is great to use, great to drink. You could use it for anything. Now, if we want to make it a little more stable and a little more traditional with the mouthfeel, and with its foaming capability, we had a little bit of lecithin. I was going to use sunflower, but it congealed in the bottle because it's kind of old. So I used my powdered soy lecithin I had, which works just as well, and a touch of sunflower oil. And it's going to create an emulsion with the seeds to allow them to be not only bound together, but also give it a creamier mouthfeel. And if you look, it's more tastier packaged milks in the store, you'll see those same ingredients. You'll see N oil, lecithin, as well as a bunch of other stuff that you just do not need any of that in. A little maple syrup or a little, sweetener of some sort, and a pinch of salt would be all right too. I kept this free of either, just to show you how basic it could be. But after we've added the lecithin and the oil, now it's basically a barista blend. So we took our basic milk that was oil-free, super healthy, raw, and we've added just a little bit of oil to it, and now we can foam it and use it for our coffee. It also has, like I said, a creamier mouthfeel, but it's also more stable. So now we can incorporate it into a hot stew or soup bisque. And it's a really great application for restaurants to be able to highlight a seasonal ingredient. If you're making a butternut squash soup, you could take the butternut squash seeds, wash them, blend them, make a butternut squash seed milk, and increase the butternut squash flavor and healthfulness of it. Also, the remarkability of your dish having butternut squash in all these different ways. Here's the milk, straight. You see that nice creamy frothiness? That's because we added the lecithin and the oil. Now with the butternut squash, we actually won a competition at Sprout in Battle Creek against a couple other meat chefs. I was the only vegetarian or vegan one. And we made a butternut squash donut with butternut squash bacon, butternut squash slaw, and it had a butternut squash seed milk chai alongside of it. And we won. We crushed them. We had twice as many votes. We beat a sausage company and a barbecue company. And our little old butternut squash ruled the day. We actually had one person who practically threatened me because his wife thought she ate bacon, and he was angry, and I was elated. So,
that is a testimonial right there.
The biggest compliment I get is a threat. So,
hey, Chef, if we can, I can pause the video. We have
Sure.
a quick question asking about cost. So what are your thoughts on, what does it cost to make a gallon of that type of milk?
Well, that's a great question. Part of the reason I make that ratio is because sunflower seeds are the cheapest. Hemp seeds are the most expensive. So we have a little bit of hemp, a little more of the pumpkin, and a lot of the sunflower seed. So really, those hemp seeds, oh boy, that was maybe 50 cents worth of hemp seeds. I think maybe we're talking $1.50 for that,
Wow.
but maybe $1. It depends. If you buy a lot of seeds in a big bag, it'll be pennies. But at retail pricing, you're still paying less than $1.50.
Awesome.
And that is with a $300 blend. So,
Right. So we also have a question, which is, what is lecithin? So the soy lecithin that you used.
What is lecithin? Well, I'm not sure how they extract it from the soy or the sunflower, but I know it's what helps bind and emulsify. I would love a little, if either of you or Lizzie knows a little bit about lecithin.
I can just briefly talk about it. It is an emulsifier, and I think you described it well. It binds ingredients together. So if you ever mix like water and oil, for example, they'll separate. But when an emulsifier is added, it basically makes it so that they bind and so that they don't separate. So if you make a regular seed milk without adding the lecithin, the next day in the fridge, it will be somewhat like separated, especially if you add oil in it. But with the emulsifier, it's bound together. And so you're right, Chef, like it's included in most of the commercial milks so that it doesn't separate. And I don't know how it's extracted, but it's usually comes from soy.
Friend Monica here saying that we can use water instead of oil. Oil is not necessary. It just adds a little more mouthfeel. You could do it with just the lecithin, and it's still a healthy and a bound product. I think she's saying about we could keep an eye on it, meaning if you have it too watery, then it won't stay emulsified, I think is what she's saying, which is probably right. And how much? I approximately eyeballed that. That was about 2 tablespoons of the oil and about 1 teaspoon or tablespoon of the lecithin. I think it was maybe more like 2 teaspoons of lecithin, but I didn't measure that part. It was, I'm trying to show you what you can do and the potential as opposed to what you have to do. And hopefully that Hey, so dairy, there's so many things you can do. I just want you to think of seeds as an equal or as better than nuts, which are just have less nutrition content and also come from further away, usually, or require more water to grow. One cream that also is not really spoken about is a cauliflower cream. It can be velvety and luscious and delicious, and we'll get right into it. You could go ahead and play the video. Now, this recipe does have oil in it, but if you are eating an oil-free diet or an SOS diet, or free of salt, oil, and sugar, you can make this exactly the same. Take the seed milk from the other recipe before the oil and add that instead of adding the oil, and you'll add some fattiness and a little more to allow a little more creaminess for the mouthfeel. Because the cauliflower, without any additional fat, will end up a little bright to be a cream. To bring it from a vegetable puree to a cream or crema or mayo needs some fat. The oil really helps sell that. So we're using it. We cook to replace animal products that it ends up happening to be healthier. We don't necessarily cooking to be healthier. So we're adding some dry seasonings here. And so basically, if you could pause for a second, what we did was we made the cauliflower crema, which happened very fast. And it only takes a minute. The steamed cauliflower, you could boil it, you could steam it. And within a minute in the blender on high speed, you have a luscious, fluffy kind of sour cream, low fat sour cream. And then we add a little more oil. You can go ahead and play it now. And garlic powder and mustard powder to bring it to that mayo kind of spreadability. So it makes it thicker. The oil helps thicken it up. It also adds more fattiness for that mouthfeel and more lusciousness to add moisture to your sandwich or your salad, whatever you're making your dressing. You could see here, I just show a little demo just to see how it lies in place, how thick and fluffy and velvety it is. And again, this is mostly cauliflower, a head of cauliflower.
What a great texture on that. I love it. Looks incredible.
Go ahead. Yeah.
We did have a quick question, Chef, that's asking, can a food processor or Cuisinart replace the blender here? Or is blender better for cream and milk recipes? I know you've got a very expensive Vitamix there. So what are the options for others?
They do sell them refurbished for around $260.
Good tip. Thank you.
But to be honest, I have done most of these things before with an Oster blender. It's one of the cheaper ones, but it is a champ. You can get it for $30. Now, don't get Hamilton Beach or Black & Decker. Get Oster, the O-S-T-E-R. They have a glass carafe one, and it works pretty well. You'll have to pulse more, and you'll have to stop and mix and pulse and mix and pulse. When you're making creams, you'll have to make them a little thinner. To get a good creamy seed milk, you might have to soak your seeds, but they're all doable with a lower quality blender. Food processors are not made to make things really creamy. They're made to cut. Now, there are some food processors that say they will blend and have different aeration features, or so they might work, but I watch people online all the time being like, why isn't this working? And it's like, I could see that your tofu is a bunch of little pieces. That's why it didn't turn into that awesome chicken you were trying to make, because you didn't blend it, because you used a food processor. So not really.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. I love that. Appreciate your answer. Okay, I'm queuing it back up.
Great. Yeah, so we're pretty much done with the cauliflower crema. What I love to do is to take multiple different preparations. So we're going to make a cauliflower rice now, but you were able to use that crema with the rice in a preparation, or with fried chicken. I'm making a ranch out of the cauliflower crema and then doing the fried cauliflower that you dip in the cauliflower. It's just like, people are like, what are you doing to me? And the rice is very simple. This is a recipe we developed at Karen's on Green. It was a very raw food heavy restaurant. Karen herself was a raw food guru, and I was able to be her chef for a little while. And basically, they sell cauliflower rice in the store. So the reason why I'm showing you this is because not only can you make it cheaper, you can make it better and actually kind of taste like rice. In the grocery store, buy a frozen pouch of just ground up cauliflower. That's how they sell it, which is fine. You could take that and then prepare it with my recipe if you want, or you could just make your own. You don't need a 7-quart food processor to make this. However, that's what I'm using right now, overkill. Any food processor would work. The cheapest, junkiest Black & Decker food processor would work for this task. And the thing is, you just want to get it small, so it's close, a little smaller than a rice pearl. You don't want it as big as rice usually is, because it's going to have a little more toothsomeness to it. So to make it a little smaller, so it cooks a little more, I think helps me feel like it's rice. What we've added is just a little bit of salt and a little bit of oil. So what it's going to do is, the salt will make it tasty, break it down a little bit maybe, but the oil will pretty much surround each little piece of cauliflower. And then you'll see, we're going to put it in the oven and on very low. You could use your food dehydrator, or you can use an oven at its lowest setting. I think this was set at 200. And I think it was less time than I said, because it's a convection oven, commercial. Now here's the rice. After it came out of the oven, we packed it in a little cup and we put it in there for a presentation. It's ready to go. Very easy, simple. You keep it in your fridge for up to a week, or you could freeze it for a long time, and you have your own cauliflower rice there. All right, and that is cauliflower. And now we're getting to butternut squash, which I just love. Now this butternut squash cheese sauce recipe, it's similar to some you might have seen. Did anyone see the other cheese demonstration here at the Foodways Symposium, where they had a carrot cheese? I guess if you did, let us know. And this is a little different, not wildly, but has a few more ingredients, add a little more complex flavor. The reason why we're using potato with butternut squash, the butternut squash is color and flavor and texture, the creaminess. The potato, it's starch that it has in it. When you over mix it, like if you're making mashed potatoes and they get gluey, that's what we're doing on purpose. We're making gluey mashed potatoes and mixing it with a butternut squash puree and seasoning it heavily. And then binding it and suspending with a starch. So it has more viscosity and a bit of a pull. We add a little oil for the mouthfeel. And some of my secret ingredients I used, which are ketchup and mustard. Now, the reason I use ketchup and mustard is because I'm making a nacho cheese sauce. And nacho cheese sauces that most people eat come from a can. So if you want something to taste like it came from a can, put a little bit of something from a can in it, and you get a similar flavor. So that's basically the reasoning behind it. The ketchup and mustard, there's already mustard powder in it. There's already vinegar in it. There's already salt in it. Now there's a little more. It's got mustard seed too. The ketchup, you could use tomato paste. You could use tomato powder, or you don't really need it. It's just a little zhuzh we do with
Chef,
the recipe.
What was that ingredient you just added? Is that nutritional yeast?
That is nutritional yeast.
Okay.
That was added, and then I added just oil just now.
Cool.
So
Thank you.
nutritional yeast, I cook with it way too much, and I love it. It's practically a compulsion. So it has this deep, nutty, earthy, fatty flavor. It's fortified with tons of B vitamins, riboflavin, niacin, thiamine. It has this cheesiness to it. And if I taste something and I'm like, this is off, it's missing something, it's almost always missing nutritional yeast or salt or both. Now, some people like nutritional yeast without the fortified vitamins, which is fine. There's also Torilla yeast, which is it is a little more just a flavoring agent. Don't get confused with brewer's yeast for beer brewing. That does not taste the same, even though it does have some of the healthful nature. And if you just use nutritional yeast by itself, without adding any of the oil, it might not have as good of a creamy flavor or texture in the tongue. So the oil helps create more of a appealing texture when you use love nutrition needs. But you can see here how it's and it has this viscosity that's pretty similar to a canned cheese sauce. Now, I'm ending with the Canadian bacon because I didn't want to end with a blender recipe, to be honest. But you'll see here, we're going to make both recipes from the same squash. So pretend like we did this first. And then when we cut this bottom of this butternut squash off, that's what we're using in the cheese recipe. So one squash, you can make 2-3 dishes. Really, you could do so many different things with it. I'm just showing you to make bacon and cheese, but I'm sure you can come up with something even more unique than I did. And we're going to just show you real quick. So we cut the bottom off, and when you roast squash for a soup or just to eat it roasted, keep the seeds in it. If you roast it with the seeds in it, it'll add more, not only moisture when it's cooking, but more flavor. Remember when I said that the seed milk made from butternut squash had the flavor of butternut squash in it? Well, those seeds and that membrane holding all the seeds together has really good flavor. So if you roast it all together and then after it's out of the oven, then you pull that seed out and it'll be very delicious. I'm showing here using a wide mandolin. Now this is a Japanese mandolin. They usually sell them very narrow, but this wider one is really what I need for butternut squash or large vegetables. But you can cut it by hand. I'll show you one cut right now where you just take your time with it and you can cut the same slice. You can also use a deli slicer if you're a boss. That peeler I was using, by the way, is an extra large peeler from Kuhnrikon, Kuhnrikon, and they are the best peelers in the world. Order them from Switzerland. Their little basic peelers like $5. I think it's maybe $6 now. I will sell those to people. I love them.
I totally agree. I'm obsessed.
Seriously, I'll invest in that company if they'll let me. If I had any money to invest. Anyway, so we're getting to the simple preparation of this baked version of our bacon. Now you can leave the oil out. You could leave the syrup out. You could take out the soy sauce and use wheat-free tamari. Make this for your diet. It is very versatile. Basically, you make it tasty. You add some broth, and you bake it, and it transforms it into something different. Now, if you want to really impress, you could cut it thicker and then steep it in boiling water. And what that does is it tightens up the exterior of that vegetable structure, and the cells come together closer, and you put it in boiling water for 30 minutes. You turn the water off so it just sits from a boil at ambient temperature. And then you make this recipe and it will not turn to mush. The exterior will stay firm, so you can cut a thicker piece and have a thicker cut of Canadian bacon. But and the reason why I bring that up is because I made these and I cooked them. They were delicious. I refrigerated them and then I reheated them like we would for a restaurant, at home for breakfast the next day. And they were a little thin. I wish I cut them a little thicker. So you could have fun with it. You could cut them super thick and just do baked squash and just eat that and serve it, and it'll be awesome. And you could put on a menu at a restaurant, people would love it. But we're also just looking to make easy, delicious meat substitute from a vegetable. And that's what we're doing. This butternut squash is just awesome on a breakfast sandwich or a breakfast plate of any sort. You could also use it like bacon to put in a soup or just in a pasta dish. I really put it in everything. We put a version of this in our cordon bleu, and with the cheese, a vegan cheese of some sort, and the flavor just travels throughout the whole piece of chicken. You'll see here, I'm just going to show you a little bit of the texture after it cooks the first time. Now we do refrigerate this and then recook it, so it has even more texture afterwards, more toothsomeness. But that was it. It felt like that was very brief. We did a lot of stuff. I'm really glad everyone was able to hopefully follow us along. I did a lot of recipes without really giving you too many details. So feel free to ask any questions if you have.
So Chef, we do have a couple questions in the Q&A, and I know we're kind of up to our time. So first thing I'd like to do is just let everyone know that Chef, I'm going to post his website. So please go to his website, check out what he's selling, what he's up to, follow him on Instagram and Facebook. I do, and it's amazing.
Our next pop-up is on the 30th.
Perfect. Thank you. And where is that pop-up, Chef?
It's actually at our physical location in Coloma.
Thank you. And Chef is also teaching a class for us in June, and it's going to focus on mushrooms from an area cultivator from Sprout It. And Chef wrote 3 recipes that are like mind-blowing to me. I am so excited. So it's like a lion's mane rangoon, how to grill some mushrooms. What else have you got on tap for us, Chef?
Scallops too.
Yeah.
Sea scallops.
Yep.
One of my favorite.
Yeah. So there's 4 recipes that we'll be going through. If you're interested in signing up, I just put the link to register for the class in chat. So please join us. It'll be a 90-minute class. If you feel like cooking along, you can. It will be a whole lot of fun. So 90 minutes, 4 recipes.
And we'll have the mushrooms available for them to pick up at in Kalamazoo if they want to cook along with us, right?
Exactly. So there's a purchase option for the mushrooms, and we'll also be joined by one of our friends, Anya Gromans, who is a dietitian, and she is going to go over the health benefits of mushrooms. And she's done a lot of research on each recipe as well. So you'll also get some kind of nutrition information, some cool recipes, new things to cook. It'll be a really fun class. So looking forward to that. That is in June. And if we can, if you don't mind, maybe we go a little bit over, but I'd love to ask you some of the questions that have come up in chat. Are you comfortable with that?
Please, I'll try to make it brief.
Awesome. Cool. Well, so we have a question here that says often vegan foods use soy. Is that primarily for texture, protein, and binding? Or are there some other reasons for this? And they noted that your recipes use some soy, but not 100%, and they appreciated that. So what are your thoughts on soy?
It's a great question. We're actually going to work on phasing out some of our soy and to replace with beans in some of our recipes. Right now, I think if a recipe calls for a blended tofu, you could use a blended bean and add a little bit of water. Tofu has fattiness, it has moisture, it has unctuousness to it. It's really a great way to be able to bring in all those elements into a complex creation. And it's cheap, and it's has no flavor really. You could do anything to it. So that's why it's used so much. I think because of the agricultural subsidies, that's why it's so available, and that's why you see so many soy products and so many processed foods. Same thing with corn. So,
all right,
change the government, and change the rules, and we can change the diet.
I love it. There's a question that's asking, where do you get the miso liquid?
Miso. So I actually used, I think you're referencing the shiro miso I used. It was actually a paste. The timing might have been off with the saying what it was, but we also use a dojang. I use a Korean miso paste as well as a Japanese shiro miso.
Great.
And I buy those from Pacific Foods in Kalamazoo. Is a great place to get them.
It is a great place. So we have a couple questions about butternut squash. So for the milk, where you reference butternut seeds in the milk, shell on or off to make the milk with the butternut squash seeds?
Yeah, we just cleaned as much of the membrane off as we could, and then blended it, and then strained it. That's it.
Perfect, thank you. And then when baking butternut squash, what temp do you like to bake it at?
Oh, when you're baking it whole, I like to bake a little. If I'm in my convection oven, I'll probably go 350, 365. If I'm at home in my regular oven, 375, maybe even 400, because my home oven is pretty weak.
Okay, thank you.
But also I either roast them whole or cut them just in half with the skin on and the seeds intact with the cut side down.
Awesome.
What about the bacon, Chef? The butternut squash bacon?
Oh,
The temperature for that.
Where did I have that? Let me look. I should reference the recipe. I called for 30 minutes at 370.
Oh, that's right.
It really depends on your oven. I mean, once you start to smell it burning, it's done. or you can get it just.
Love it. All right. So another question, and I'll just say me personally, I was super impressed with your knife skills when you were breaking down that cauliflower. That was cool to see. And we had someone attending ask, do you use the cauliflower grains for anything? So what are ways you could reconstitute grains?
Like,
Those-
you mean like the cauliflower rice?
Nope. So, well, yeah, when you were breaking down the cauliflower to make the rice, you like took the greens, the stem, and set them aside.
I haven't done anything with the cauliflower stem or anything,
Okay.
but I imagine if I was really being thrifty and frugal, I probably could have just not even discarded them. But it would have had green look. I mean, I'm sure I mean, I use the whole stem pretty much, minus any cut part or any green leafiness, but you can use as much as you want. It's just about presentation, I think.
Love it. Thank you.
And whatever you don't use, you can compost, and you can come to the 7 o'clock class to learn about composting today.
Yeah.
Very good segue, Christina.
Anyway.
All right. So we have one more question. And for someone who's using an electric stove top, is there a type of pan you recommend? I know we talked a little bit about staying away from nonstick and Teflons. What kind of pans?
I mean, you really just have to search for pans that say they're for electric stoves. But I would really implore you to get a stainless steel, or at least one that has layered metals that has steel on the exterior. Your cooking surface. I'd stay away from anything that doesn't have steel or copper as a cooking surface. Really, you're going to end up with it in your body.
Thank you, Chef. All right. So, Ristina, I don't know if you'd like to put into chat how to register for the other Foodways Symposium sessions. I see someone asking about the composting class. So I think Ristina will put that into chat so you can register for that and other classes as well. Chef, I just want to say thank you so much. This session was really illuminating, engaging, interesting, a whole lot of fun. I'm so hungry. I'm going to go dig out some of your products out of my freezer and make dinner.
Awesome.
If you haven't tried his food, please do. It is truly outstanding. It is unique and special and something we all should treasure. And Chef and his team and our community, it is a really special thing. So I encourage you to seek out Chef and his products throughout our community. And thank you, Chef. Thank you, Ristina, everyone joining us. It was awesome.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Anything we can do with KVCC, you guys are great.
Oh, ditto.
Well, you're wonderful. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. This was a wonderful group of people. And I hope to see some of you, all of you, in the next session today and the rest of the sessions that we have through Saturday this week. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Let me say real quick, I got my first vaccine. I got my second one in a few weeks. Get vaccinated.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Totally agree. I love it.
Too. Fully
Thank you,
vaccinated
Chef.
over here.
All
Take
right.
care.
Everyone be well. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming.